Coming up on Short Track Racing's Fastest Half Hour. Why aren't these drivers smiling? Well, it's just another Saturday night at Franklin County Speedway filled with crashes and controversy. We've got highlights from the other regional short tracks, including New River Valley, South Boston, and Oak Level. And Mike Elkins is not a happy man after Saturday night at Franklin County Speedway. We've got Mike Elkins off the track this week on Short Track Digest. Hi everybody, and welcome to another edition of Regional Racing's Fastest Half Hour. We call it Short Track Digest. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Dave Perdue. Well, we're going to go right to highlights and results this week, and let's start with Franklin County Speedway. Lots of controversy there. Of course, what would a Saturday night at Franklin County be without controversy? However, one of the most popular drivers at Franklin County was told that he could not run his new car in the limited sportsman class, while another driver gets disqualified after winning the rookie division for the second straight week. We've got both stories coming up for you as we spin it around with highlights for Friday and Saturday, April the 26th and 27th, 1996. The day dawned bright and clear for a change, as it looked like all the regional short tracks were going to get in action Saturday night. Franklin County Speedway in Callaway was a great place to be, unless, of course, you were Mike Elkins. Mike, who will be with us on our Off the Track segment, was looking forward to trying to defend his street stock title from 1995 in the new limited sportsman class. He had even gone as far as to buy a new car. However, he found out before the race that he could not run that car in the limited sportsman division. Our own track reporter, E.C. Hunley, found out the whole story from Mike Elkins.
You know, we built the car just for a limited class, and guys worked on, we blew the motor Thursday night. Guys worked on it all night long, putting another motor in it. It's a street stock motor, you know, it's got stock everything in the motor. It's not a late model motor, it's nowhere close. And, you know, we come up here with intentions of running street stock or limited. Whitey give us his guarantee that the car would be legal for limited. And we asked him 2 or 3 times, and yeah, he guaranteed it. And then we got up here, and Glenn, the inspector, he makes up some rules and changes some rules on us. And, you know, we got a brand new copy of the rules tonight. And it says in there that if you run a full tube frame, that you have to add 200 pounds of weight. But we got a part full frame, and then we got a combined snout on the front of it. The car had been wrecked, so they tubed it the very front of the snout, and he said that it should have been 10 inches forward. And that if we didn't have it 10 inches forward, we'd have to add 100 pounds of weight to run limited. And we was already, you know, we qualified at the exact same time Mike Dudley did. And it would probably been a real good race. But if we'd had 100 pounds of weight, that's probably about a half a second. So, you know, we couldn't even kept up with Dudley adding 100 pounds of weight. So we decided just to go ahead and run late model, get a bill for it. Looks like that we're going to have to go to different tracks to be able to run, because Glenn, he can work with us. And we hate that. We like it up here, we like all the fans. And, you know, all the guys live right here real close by and everything. But right now, we sort of up in the air. We're going to have to go down, go sit down, have a big talk about it, try to figure out what to do. We got a limited car, nowhere to run.
We'll have more comments from Mike Elkins regarding his situation during our Off the Track segment later in the show. Without Elkins on the track, Mike Dudley took the lead in the limited sportsman class and ran away from the field to take his first victory of the 1996 season. Elkins was forced to start at the rear of the pack in the late model stock division, and he really had nothing for the rest of the field during the entire night. Dudley Lawhorn and Dickie Wilson battled from the front for the first and second spots throughout the evening in the late model stock event. Lots of spins and crashes marked the race. Here you see Travis Sharp and Chris Hatchett tangling on the front stretch. Orville Reedy also swapped ends going across the start-finish line. But the biggest excitement of the night may have been created by Jimmy Mullins as his black number 3 car as he got into the backstretch wall and showered sparks down the length of the back straightaway. We had a chance to talk with Jimmy Mullins after the race. He wanted to talk first about the fact that he thought he should have been on the pole.
I tell you, those cars was fast tonight. I don't know, I think he was playing for stopwatch or something. The car was fast, I'm on here and y'all put out a track out there. Damn, he must have flipped or something. Well, we went out and in practice we changed a few things on the car. The car was awesome fast. Actually, there was a lot of people, checking the time and stuff. And to our opinion and some of the other drivers, we was fast the car out. I don't know what to do. I went out there to qualify and the car felt great. I mean, I run it in there, I got back on the gas and it stayed under me. I think I stayed pretty low on the track. I was probably figuring 30 or something. We changed a few things, trying to get the car better. And they come out with like a 50 or something, and I said, something ain't right. Anyway, like I told them, I said, we'll just see what we can do, come up through the field. So we come on out through there. I hate I got into the oil, and what happened over there coming out of two when you hit the wall? We broke a right front wheel, the whole center broke out in it, and it just shot me straight into the wall. But it totaled the car. Didn't lose nothing. I don't know, we'll just have to go back, work on something, try to get us a frame or something here this week, see if we can get back here next week. I don't know, it might be a couple of weeks. Looks a lot like Richard Childress racing, but you don't have 3 or 4 more up in the stall. Yeah, that's the truth. That's our only problem right there, We'll be back sooner or later, I guess.
And though Dickie Wilson tried his best to get past Dudley Lawhorn and take victory in the 100-lap late model stock event, Dudley was just a little bit too much. So it's Lawhorn with his second win of the season, though this is the only one that counts. Remember, 2 weeks ago he won a rain-shortened event that Whitey Taylor went back and decided to finish last week. In the rookies, it was another controversy for Scott Foley. Foley in the Cable 12 car won his second straight race. Last week, you remember, he was disqualified because of a faulty carburetor. This week, after taking the flag, he was inspected until 11:30 in the evening. Finally, the track inspector disqualified Foley again, this time for improper tire camber. We caught up with Scott Foley on Sunday, and this is what he had to say.
Well, went through inspection, and they kept checking on the car and checking, and finally said we had too much camber in the right front tire, which we had 4 degrees, supposed to have 4 degrees, we had 4.5 degrees.
This is the second straight week you've been disqualified after winning the race. Do you feel like you're being picked on?
Well, yeah, we do feel that we are at a disadvantage. First week, we agree with them, but this second week, we're legal.
Okay, now this combined with what happened to Mike Elkins this week in his division, it looks like maybe there's a little bit of a lack of communication between the people who are actually running the inspection area and the drivers. It seems like something is going on in that direction, because I've heard that Whitey has said one thing and now Glenn is saying something different.
Right, Whitey says that the inspection is Glenn's job, and Glenn does his job well. It's just, I think it was a lot of agging on. We had a couple drivers over there that's real good buddies with the inspector that actually told me I was disqualified, and it was a lot of pushing to get me disqualified.
Okay. Now you're going to come back next week, and if you do, what are you going to do to try and remedy the situation?
Well, I'm looking right now. We've been working all day trying to find somebody that does have the actual book that shows how to use a camber gauge. They say you read it one way, and everybody that I've talked to has never heard of reading a camber gauge the way that they read it.
So you will be back at the Speedway on next Saturday night?
Yeah, we're going to be back. If it keeps it up, we're going to have to make a change. I mean, we can't go up there and spend our money and get nothing. We don't get money, no points, no nothing. We up there, wasting our money and never getting nothing.
At this point, we'd like to apologize to the fans of Short Track Digest. We have begged, pleaded, and asked Franklin County promoter Whitey Taylor to please get us the results and top fives from his racetrack every Sunday morning as we put this show together so that we can bring them to you. This week, he decided not to send us those results. Therefore, we cannot tell you who the winner of the rookie class was at Franklin County Speedway. In the mini stock event, it was Chris Martin, last week's winner, starting from the pole. However, he had troubles early and fell out of that race. That left the lead to Dennis Sloan. He battled Gary Joyce neck and neck through the race, but it was Sloan crossing the finish line first for his first mini stock victory of 1996. And we'd also like to congratulate the pure stock winner this week, Red Hartman in the number 10 Ridge Runner Motors machine. And that's what happened at Franklin County Speedway this week. We have more highlights and results coming up for you from Oak Level, New River Valley, and South Boston Speedway. That's coming up in our next segment right here on Short Track Digest. Stand by. Welcome back to Short Track Digest. More highlights and results for you now. Let's start things off with Friday night's results from Oak Level Speedway in Oak Level, Virginia. There were no clouds to spoil this Friday night of racing action at Oak Level Speedway. Last week, you remember the rains washed out racing action before qualifying was all done. Our racing highlights this week include Super Street, where Steve Lowboy Foley led for most of the race. His tightest competition coming from Robert Whitlow, but it was the Lowboy who finished at the front of the pack. Whitlow finished second, followed by Bobby Willard, Mike Kuczynski, and Jeff Hilton. The feature event of the night in the limited late model found Donovan Freeman back at the front of the pack. Freeman finishes ahead of Ray Reinhard, Groundhog Compton, Travis Young, and Mike Toller. In the mini stocks, it was Randy Philpott finishing ahead of Jimmy Brown. Steve Plaster put it into third, while Neil Holcomb and T.A. Galden rounded out the top five. And in the pure stocks, Doug Hutcherson, Pee Wee Turner, Sammy Cook, Mike Lawrence, and Patrick Gonzalez led the field back to the finish line. And let's not forget the Dirt Daubers. Congratulations to Steve Hall, who won that class this week at Oak Level. From the Friday night event at Oak Level, we move up the road to Pulaski for the Saturday night start at the New River Valley Speedway. The night started with the pure stockers, and the number 87 Fox car jumped out to an early lead. However, that didn't bother Randy Taylor, who went underneath him along the back stretch. The Fox car was so unnerved, it wound up crashing into the inside pit wall on the back stretch. Taylor led the rest of the way and crossed the finish line in first. However, he was disqualified because of a weight misplacement. That gave the win to Tommy Alley. Davis Phillips finished second, Dean Sutphin third, John McMahon fourth, and Gary Davis rounded out the top five. The first ever MASCAR event to be held at New River Valley saw Ron Ratliff start on the pole and run all the way around, all laps, to win the event. Following Ratliff were Bobby Keaton, Gary Binger, Bill Trent, and Kenny Campbell rounding out the top five. Then it was time for the main event, the New River Valley Mall 100 for late model stocks. Tony McGuire sat on the pole but jumped the start at the green flag. That meant Jeff Agnew got the lucky break of the night, and he used it to lead all the remaining laps and win his third consecutive late model stock event at New River Valley. In other finishes, Martinsville's Clay Campbell had some trouble with his car. That put him in the pits early. And though Tony McGuire tried to get back up into the top five, he could only manage a top 10 finish. It was a better result for Boone's Mill's Rodney Cundiff, who, after competing throughout the race, managed to finish in fourth. The entire top 5 now. Agnew wins again at New River Valley, followed by Philip Morris, Kenny Perlman, Cundiff, and Johnny Rumley. Then it was time for a 35-lap limited sportsman division race. Tam Topham, who won last week, started in the 3rd position. However, first place Kenny Montgomery and second place Hank Turman got in trouble with lap traffic in turn 3 and 4 on lap number 20. Turman wound up on the side of the track, and Montgomery had to go to the pits. That gave Topham the lead, and he never looked back, taking his 2nd straight win in the limited sportsman division. The top 5, Topham, Eddie Walls, Jay McRae, Rob Fain, and Ronnie Bird. And the mini stocks finished out the rest of the night. The pole was drawn by Vernon Landreth. He and Dennis Worley had a good competition until about late lap 6. Then Worley took the lead and never looked back, winning his first ever mini stock race. Worley, who has raced go-karts and won in that division, was grateful for his first ever win in the mini stock division. Landreth managed to hang on for 2nd place. Then it was Kevin Light, John Cox, and Ken Moxley rounding out the top 5. From New River Valley, we go to the exact opposite end of the region at South Boston Speedway in South Boston, Virginia. David Blankenship won 2 weeks ago in the late model stock division, and he picked up where he left off this week by winning the first half of the Hendrick Chevrolet Twin 100s. The orange number 3 car led every lap starting from the pole to win the first half of that race. The rest of the top 5 in the first half included runner-up Ray Young of Bassett, who earned a $150 cash bonus for the Red Dog Invitational Series race. 3rd place went to Danny Willis of Cluster Springs. Richard Landreth finished 4th, and Greg Marlowe of Troutman, North Carolina, finished in the 5th position. The second half of the Twin 100 race featured an inverted start for the top 6 finishers, meaning Blankenship started in 6th, while B.A. Wilson started from the pole. Now, there must be something magical about that pole position at South Boston, because B.A. Wilson managed to lead every lap and finish in the 1st position in the second half of the Twin 100s. Bumping and banging and crashing was the feature of the first segment of that 2nd race. Crashes abounded through turns 3 and 4, including this little nudge from Ray Young, spinning the number 2 Kentucky Fried Chicken machine. Bassett's Young finished 2nd in the first race and 3rd in the second race, making a very good night for him at South Boston. The top 5 finishers in the second race of the Twin 100s. Again, it was B.A. Wilson in 1st position, followed by Richard Landreth, Ray Young, Greg Marlowe, and Todd Massey. Next up on the racetrack was the 25-lap race for the Super Stock division. Congratulations to Benny Franklin of Concord, who won that race. He was followed by Mark Kesey, David Buchanan, David Canada, and Richard Blankenship. And the final race of the night was a 40-lap race for the limited sportsman. Billy Myers of Hurt started on the pole and led all the laps through the limited sportsman race. Ray Pittman of Richmond finished 2nd, followed by J.B. Boats, Bill Moshenek, and H.C. Sellers III rounded out the top 5.
And that's what happened Saturday night at South Boston. As we close out our highlights and results segment, let's look at qualifying action from Talladega and also some of the results from Lonesome Pine Speedway in Coburn, Virginia. And when we come back, it's Off the Track. We told you about Mike Elkin's troubles this week at Franklin County Speedway. Well, we had a chance to catch him before the race. And that's coming up in Short Track Digest, Off the Track.
Welcome back to Short Track Digest. It seems a bit of an anticlimax now, but our off-the-track guest this week is Mike Elkins. We caught up with Mike at Franklin County Speedway Saturday afternoon before all the trouble developed with his new race car and the track inspector at Franklin County. We asked Mike about his hopes and aspirations and whether he was going to try and win another track championship just like he did in 1995 in the street stock division. It's Mike Elkins, this week's guest on Off the Track. Welcome to this segment of Off the Track. Actually, we're at the track this week, as you can tell. We're at Franklin County Speedway talking with driver Mike Elkins. The Limited Sportsman Division is his class, and he's driving the B99-9 racing machine. Mike, let's start with what happened to you on Thursday. You blew an engine, and you had to spend basically all night, Friday night, putting a new one in there. First of all, tell us what happened Thursday.
We was up here practicing and we was turning some real good lap times, and we wanted to try some qualifying times. And we broke a rod going into turn 1 up there, and it totally destroyed the motor. I mean, it wiped out the whole block, crank, and everything. And Mike Angle, my engine builder, he went back home, and the next morning got up and started fixing another set of heads, and he had us a set of heads ready, and put them on another block that we got, and we're back up here now. And you know, we've only run the engine about a half an hour, but we think it's ready to go.
As you think about the car that you have right now, you say you only have a half hour on the motor. How much does this set you back? I mean, you haven't raced yet this year, and now you've got to go ahead and put a new motor in your car. I mean, monetarily and then just the setup on the car, how far does this set you back from what you had before the motor blew?
Well, you know, we'd like to have a lot more practice Thursday. We was just getting to where the car was starting to handle good, and we felt if we could practice a little bit more, we might could have picked up another 1/10 or 2. I got a lot of confidence in my engine builder. Mike, he really knows what he's doing on the engines. You know, the rod braking was nothing he could control. And the crew, man, they worked on this thing all night long last night. We cranked it at 4:15 last night. And when they cranked it, you know, it fired right up, no problems, no leaks or anything. I just got an outstanding crew. I can't say enough about them. And, you know, we wouldn't even plan on running points this year, but these guys, they want to race. And so that part didn't bother me. The money part did. You know, it really put a hurting on me not have to spend $1,500 more than had he run a lap yet. But we'll get through it. My uncle, he came through. He helped me out a lot. Steve Richardson, he helped me out a lot. And I like to thank, you know, a lot of people. And I thank my wife for putting up with us. You know, we stayed out in the garage all night long last night. I think everybody might have got 2 hours sleep about 8 o'clock this morning. But I think we'll be all right for the race.
Let's talk a little bit about the car. You have a different color scheme this year. You have new sponsors. I know you want to talk a little bit about that, but let's talk a little bit about who came up with the new scheme, the new flashy colors here on this car.
You know, last year at the awards bank, I got this Hoosier hat, and that's where it comes from. I like the colors of the Hoosier hat, and my wife and Tim, they went down and picked out the paint, and it didn't exactly match, but it turned out pretty good. And like I said, Tim, he hung a body on it, did an outstanding job. As sponsors this year, we picked up Rocky Mountain Tractor along with B99, and Wayne Blankenship I told at Rocky Mountain Tractor on 220. He's been just outstanding supporting us. And he's going to be up here tonight, be up in the tower watching us, and I hope to put on a good show for him. We also picked up a few more that we didn't have last year. Martin Pallets and Patrick Springs, Virginia, if you can believe that. They are, you know, a friend of a friend, and they helping us out a little bit. And basically, we got back all the other sponsors that we had last year. Holly's Auto Parts, 40 West Food Fire, Boone Welding. They all stuck with us. Permaclean Cleaners. Everybody that was with us last year is with us again this year.
Right from the outset here at Franklin County this year, a lot more scrutiny of different people's engines. They tore down one of the rookie class engines last year because the guy was running so far ahead of the field. Is that last year there were some questions about reimbursement when people wanted to take down engines, challenges about engines. Is that something that you think is going to carry over to this year already? It seems like it's started again already.
Yeah, I think so. You know, it's so hard to keep everybody, you know, equal, and it's hard to tell, you know, if anybody's cheating or not. And The biggest thing that we had during the drivers' meeting, and we tried to explain or express, was that we'd like for them just to use the stopwatch. You know, if you see a guy running 2 or 3 tenths faster, you check him out. But if he's running the same speed as everybody else, and they're slowing down, then you know, there's no use in turning him down. But right now the limited class is really up in the air. They run the 6 cylinders with us, and I've also heard they're gonna let the late models run with us. I don't know how true it is. They're gonna let some of the late models run with us if they add a couple 100 pounds of weight. So right now the rules on the street stock is really up in the air, and we just got to wait till it all plays out and see where it all shakes out.
So what will Mike Elkins do? Well, that story is still to come, and we'll update you next week right here on Short Track Digest. Getting ready to close the show out for this week. We've got results from Talladega for you, upcoming events at our regional short tracks, and a new feature called Crash Course coming up in 2 minutes right here on Short Track Digest. Well, that will just about do it for this week's edition of Regional Racing's Fastest Half Hour. Remember to send us in all of those comments, postcards, and questions to Short Track Digest, care of Cable 12 Television, P.O. Box 12, Redwood, Virginia. And if you're going to a regional racetrack and you get some footage with your video camera that you'd like us to look at, why don't you give us a call? Call us at 540-489-8812. We'll take your name and number, and I'll get back to you. And we'll see if we can't put your video footage on an upcoming edition of Short Track Digest. Hey, I hope you'll tune in next time when we have another edition of Short Track Digest. Until then, this is your host, Dave Perdue, saying so long.